All right, welcome. We're so excited to get going on our webinar tonight. I have had so much fun with our 90 days of real self-care challenge. I really just enjoy breaking up my goals into chunks of the year. I don't know if you guys are like this. Sometimes I need a group with me in order to really focus. And so more often than not, I think of goals that I want to work on, and then I ask everyone else if they want to come along. So that was one of the things with meditation, was one of my goals. And for years and years, I resisted it, and it finally, I just took a 90-day challenge, and now it's just a daily habit for me. So that's the power of 90-day challenges. So we have had so much fun with this. So if you are just joining us, go ahead, find your chat feature, tell us where you are joining via Zoom, and we'd love to see that. Also co-hosting with me tonight is the lovely Kat Fuller. And I'm Amber Smithson. I don't know if I said that yet, but Kat, why don't you come off mute and say hello?
Hi, I'm Kat Fuller. I'm coming here from snowy and sunny Utah. I'm really excited too. This challenge has been so powerful for me, and I'm excited to share a little bit with you tonight.
Love it. Thanks, Kat. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's start with a fun poll. So let's see if I can launch this poll here. All right, so you should see that launched if you are in the Zoom room right now. So with the 90 days of real self-care, this is your self-assessment. First is I participated and moved forward in some way in my goals. The second choice is I participated, but feel like I could have done better. Although I think all of us could have done better, honestly. But if you progressed, I want you to choose that first one. And the third one's, I didn't do the challenge, but I'm just here and someone invited me and we're so glad you're here. So go ahead and choose which of these three describes you best. Maybe it's not just perfect of what describes you, but that's okay. We just want to get a feel for who is here tonight. All right, I am going to go ahead and end the poll and share our results. Okay, so we're pretty, like 3/4 of you participated in the challenge and 25% didn't. And it was split, you know, whether you move forward or you feel like you could have done better. But okay, I'm loving that, because guess what? This is exactly what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about a fun topic for all of you who feel like you just want a little more motivation. But before we get into our topic, I wanted to bring on one of my friends, Jen, who just really actually did a great job with the last 90 days and move forward in her goals. And I would love, Jen, for you to come off mute and share with us a little bit of what happened with the 90 days of real self-care for you personally.
Thanks, Amber. I will start by saying, if you are so grateful for all and every email that Amber sent out and all of the people who helped assist you in your goals for this health challenge, put a 2 in the chat below. I think you guys have been incredible and have kept me going. And so how have I moved forward from using this challenge? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is setting the goals, because it's easy to just live life and kind of have it by default. And clarity in your goals can really give you that guidance, and having the proper amount of goals as well is important, to not set these huge goals that are unattainable. And so I love that we're able to do goal setting sessions with anyone for free who does the challenge. So that was really helpful for me, because I'm turning 40 this year, and I wanted to really reach some goals of having better core strength, being able to lessen my back pain. And then financially, I really wanted to be able to have my taxes inputted from my business. So I loved that we had a healthy financial goal. And then I have also been really aware of what's happening in my bank account, which I haven't been before, really. And then the third was the mindset, to be able to do the daily meditation. And I even took a course which really helped me throughout the process. And it was just the habits that were so crucial for me to start. And then feeling a part of a bigger group and not doing this alone was huge for me, because I really wouldn't have done it at all if it weren't for you guys. Like, you inspired me, you kept me going, and I knew I wasn't alone. And so that camaraderie and hearing other people's wins, that is so influential, doing something together. And then the other thing it's done for me is given me confidence and strength, not only physically, but in those other categories too, that if I wouldn't have made the efforts, the daily efforts, I wouldn't have the confidence that I have in those areas. So that's really cool to be able to build on that. And then one thing I love about Optavia is the culture that we have. It's not that you start it and then stop it at 90 days. So I love that we have the culture of asking what's next. And so we're going to talk about that more later on, but I really have this next goal for myself in those areas as well. And so I'm so grateful for this challenge. It was super helpful for me to be here, and I'm so grateful. Thanks.
Awesome, Jen. Okay, I love hearing about just, and it wasn't like this giant thing where, you know, you accomplished the whole world in 90 days, but I love that you like got your taxes in before April. That's amazing. Congratulations. Or just like little things like I did my daily meditation. And that has been true for me as well. I have found that it just starts with like, what can I do every day? And then you build that confidence in yourself. So that's awesome, Jen. I appreciate that. Okay, so I want to bring Kat on with me here. And so I don't know if you're the same, Kat, but when I started working on my health, these were some of my motivations. How about you?
Oh, 100%. I think the guilt and shame thing for me was so big, because I was so ashamed of how I felt and how I looked, and that I thought I knew better. And I remember I walked by a mirror. Well, actually it wasn't, it was a storefront that was a reflective glass. And I was with my husband, and I looked over and I thought, who is that chick with my husband? Like, that is not me. And that was really a pivotal moment for me to realize, like, I'm not who I want to be. And it was actually a really strong motivation for me. And there came some fear probably with that too, of what am I going to become? Like, this isn't who I am. I don't want to be who I'm not. A lack of feeling good. I had a lot of pain in my body and some inflammation that I was dealing with. And there were some really strong motivations for me 10 years ago when I started this program.
Yeah. Okay. So I can relate to what you were saying. The thing that got me to actually start on my health journey almost, 19, 20 years ago, was my doctor telling me that my cholesterol was really high. I think his exact words were something around like, this is like old man heart attack high. And I was like, what in the world? You're the worst doctor ever. But it gave me fear. Honestly, I was like, I need to look at what I'm doing. Like, I need to get in gear because I had no energy. I was overweight, and just that fear that came from realizing that my actual numbers, my health numbers, were going in the direction of a heart attack. That was a huge motivation for me personally.
That's terrifying to hear as a 29-year-old or younger, 28, that you are, yeah, it's terrifying to think that your old man cholesterol levels, like heart attack. That definitely is a strong motivation, Amber.
Yeah. And sometimes it's someone else's agenda. This is like maybe your spouse nudging you. Hey, I want you around for the kids to get married. Or maybe you were shamed as a child from your parent. Like, you don't look like you should, or you don't, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many of these things that can be a motivation to get going on something. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally. How many, if I guess, put a 1 in the chat if any of these have motivated you in the past to make changes. And look inside yourself right now, and what motivated you to get here, to be on this Zoom tonight, to do the challenge. For those of you who did it, were you coming from this place?
Yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with like whatever your motivation is to get on the road to doing something you want to do when it comes down to it. But here's the thing is, let's talk about motivation and the line. So some of you have heard of the line if you've been around Optavia for more than a minute. And this is something that we get from Jim Dethmer. He wrote Conscious Leaders. Well, okay, I just
15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership.
Thank you. And it's conscious.is is his website. So Kat, why don't you just go over a little bit about the line?
So we talk about the line as just, it is what it is. It is not good or bad. We often have a preference, however. So if you've heard us teach this before, above the line and below the line, most of us, if we're working on ourselves, we kind of prefer how we feel above the line. When we're above the line, we're living in more of a by me, we're responsive, we're curious, we take responsibility for our lives, for our own growth and our learning. We have a growth mindset. Below the line, we are very defensive and reactive. We don't think, we don't give space to our responses, our reactions. We're also in a habit of recycling drama. I mean, how many of us, something happens in our life and we just recycle that drama over and over again. And this comes from a to me perspective, that something's happening to me. I'm at the effect of someone, something, the weather. Oftentimes, maybe today I was very below the line about the winter blizzard in the middle of almost the end of March. So we can be above or below the line. And it's interesting to think about this with motivation, because for me, I'm so grateful that I had that moment when I walked by that storefront and went, whoa, that's not who I want to be. And I bet, Amber, aren't you grateful that your doctor kind of scared you a little bit?
Yep. Like, honestly, probably if he had downplayed it and been like, oh, your cholesterol's like a tiny bit high, but probably not a big deal. Like, if he wasn't really upfront and scared me a little bit, like I am grateful that was the first motivation to put me on my journey to health.
Right. So, and I want to talk a little bit about how my story changed, because this is really cool to look at yourself and see where you came from and where you're going. When I first started, it was very much in that place of shame and fear and lack, below the line motivation, and it was strong. And I started working with Amber as my coach, and immediately I felt better. And I didn't feel so much fear, and I didn't feel so much shame, because I could see changes happening. And then I started to change my perspective, and my motivation started to change a little bit. So I think we're going to talk next about our motivation above the line. And
Yeah,
this is
but
what happened with me. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. Sorry.
No, I love where you're going with this, Kat. But here's the thing: motivation. This is a quote from Jim Dethmer, and you can go to his website, conscious.is. But he said, motivation that occurs from below the line usually leaves a toxic residue in one form or another. Motivation from above the line doesn't. This is good news, because this toxic residue becomes a motivation for us to shift our source of motivation. This is exactly what you were talking about, Kat.
Exactly. Yes. So my motivation started to change, and I was able to look at that kind of toxic residue and say, wow, I don't really like how that person back there that was me before treated the person who I am now. So I was able to let go of some of that toxicity and shift my motivation. I'll talk about, if I want to talk about play, and it's
hold on, Kat, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna have you talk about play in just a second.
All right, you talk.
Interrupter, you guys. Okay,
it's all good.
So if you're sitting there and you're going, oh shoot, all of those motivations that they just talked about from below the line, those are mine. I'm the worst. Look, I just have the worst motivations. Dang it. I'm wrong. Okay. If that is what's happening in your brain, that's normal, because we like to place judgments on things, right? And I would invite you to, at this time, just take a deep breath in and out and thank that motivation, because it's got you this far. It got you on this webinar, probably. And now, if you want, we're going to invite you to maybe look at motivations above the line and see if those are going to be just a little more fun for you. So, okay, Kat, take it away.
And I love that you took time to do that, because that's exactly the shift, right? It's just taking time to shift and breathe. And that's really the change. And if you don't want to, it's okay. If
Absolutely.
you're motivated, if you're more motivated by how you saw yourself in the mirror, or shame or guilt or someone else's agenda, you're more motivated, that's okay. That's why I started this out saying it's not good or bad, right? So play. Oh my gosh. Did you guys know that mammals love to play? I mean, this dog is living his best life, right? He's so excited. And one of the biggest things that we as humans is we make things so serious that don't need to be serious. I experienced this at the beginning of this challenge. I have been meditating for a long time. For me, it's a long time. Some people do it for years and years and years. I've almost been meditating every day for 1 year. I'm very close to that goal I have. And I was getting really serious about it around this challenge, because it's a 90-day real self-help challenge. And I was going to do it. And I was making it really serious. And I kind of noticed that I was feeling a little bit resentful around my motivation, because I made it so serious, I have to do it. We do this as human beings so often. And instead, I decided one day, I remember a day back in the end of January, and I was like, what can I do to make this fun? How can I make this more fun? And I just changed a few little things, and it got fun for me again. I didn't even change the activity. It wasn't like, oh, I need to play games with people more, or I need to spend more time resting and doing nothing. I'm still doing something very important to me, but I made it fun. And being in a state of play is really just a state of consciousness. And if any of you have ever played sports and you're highly skilled at something, or anything you're highly skilled at, I have a friend that quilts, and she's like, I could spend 9 hours quilting and not even realize the time's gone by. That is some intense skill. She's not making it serious. She's having a blast doing it. I've had this experience with sports, and fine-tuning skills and working on things is so motivating and fun for me. But now meditation is one of those things that's super fun. So play can be a new motivation.
I love that, Kat. And I remember back 20 years ago when I was losing my weight, and I had this fun game. Okay. People think I'm weird, but this, you guys, is a fun game. And it was find the foods that I love and are healthy. Like, this was like the most fun game for me, that I would be like, okay, so I like ice cream. And so what can I find that I love like ice cream, but it's actually healthy? And I made these like lemon slushies, or I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter what it was, but it was a fun game for me. And I just loved that. I love to like create and cook, and it was really fun. And my favorite movie is Mary Poppins. So in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, job's a game, right? So let's keep going. Okay, so play was our first one. Purpose. So here's the thing. There's a quote that says, pain pushes until vision pulls. So it's okay, you guys, like we said, wherever your motivation is right now, that's okay. It's where do you want to go? And here's the thing, when we get to a place where we can stop relying on the fear and the threat and the lack, when we stop focusing on that, when that's not our main thing that is just in our head all the time, it just like gives you some room to find your sense of purpose, where you go, wait, why am I really doing this? What do I value in my life? Like, what's important to me? Maybe your kids are important to you, or your spouse, or maybe your community service or your church, or you know what I mean? Like dig down. Maybe pickleball is important to you. Pickleball is super important to me, you guys. And I go, okay, well, how can I be the best pickleballer? I don't know if that's a word. And I'm going, I need to make sure that I keep my shoulder loose. I'm going to do my rehab exercises for my shoulder. I need to make sure that I'm in shape. I want to eat good food, still fuel my body to play pickleball. Okay. When we know what's important, when we have our sense of purpose, then eating the vegetables, making the lean and green, having your feelings on hand, that becomes easy when you're so clear on your purpose. And here's the other thing that I love. If we stop believing there's a problem, there's something to fix, that there's something that's broken, someone or something,
Including ourselves, right?
including ourselves, all of a sudden we can get to the place where we go, what am I creating with my life? We're putting ourselves in the driver's seat and we're going, where do we want to go? What do I want to create? Anything else you'd add, Kat?
So powerful. No, I love that. And I think so often, well, it's just what you said at the last sentence is, what do I want to create? We forget what we really care about the most. So take some time to think about what you want to create. Presence is another form of motivation you might not have thought of. Presence is the experience of being fully awake and aware in this now moment. I love the next sentence that Jim Jeffmer said, and I'm just going to quote him. He said, presence is exquisite. Isn't that beautiful? It becomes a game. Our ego identity begins to soften. This little graphic that's part of element 24, I think in the life book, Dr. A talks about, when we make the creator bigger than the creation, then it's all about our ego. And it's not really about what we're creating. And we start thinking like, oh, what if I fail? What if I cheat? What if I do all these things wrong? What if I can't help anyone else?
How am I going to look? How am I going
to look? Who's going to see me? Who's going to watch me fail? We're making the creator bigger than the creation. And you guys, our creation's so much bigger than we realize if we can just get out of our own way. Our creator isn't even really tied to the creation when we get in presence. Another thing I love that Jim Jeffmer says is that presence is the basis of play and purpose and all other forms of motivation. So it really is the state of being, not necessarily doing. It's who we are. We become present.
I love that, Kat. And that's one reason why I really wanted to make meditation part of this challenge, honestly, because it's like flexing those muscles. You know, when you're lifting weights, you're flexing your muscles. When you're meditating, you're flexing your presence muscles. And this whole like making the creation about you, I see this all the time. It's like, oh, I'm just letting myself down. I didn't stick to my plan. I didn't lose the weight. I didn't, call the people for my business, whatever it might be. Instead of just being like, what am I going to create today? It's like an artist who wants to paint on a canvas, and they paint this canvas and they have lots of fun. And then they go, that's not the best thing I ever painted, but that was fun. They don't make it about them. I'm such a terrible person. I can't believe I painted something. It wasn't, hanging in the museum. It's like, no, you know how many paintings that artists will paint, maybe to just have one that ends up in a museum or none at all. They just do it because it's there to do. What if we treated our bodies that way? What if we treated the goals that we have that way? It was just a fun thing.
And what if we got out of that ego identity and just became the best of who we really are? That's one thing that's changed so much for me with this challenge, is just being aware of who I really am in this now moment. And just being able to breathe and just be free. I think presence is freeing.
I love that, Kat. Okay, I want to bring on one of our friends, Liz. Liz, I would love for you to just share a little bit more with us of what's on your heart right now after talking about this.
Thank you. You know what? All the things that you have been talking about just like resonated so much with me as I think back on my health journey of why I got started 11 years ago. I thought I knew everything about health. I loved to read all the health books at the library. I loved the health food store. I grew my own wheatgrass and juiced it. I exercised. I had all these tools, but when I put them into action, they weren't really working. Especially after I started having babies and life got busy, and it wasn't just about me. I found myself in that kind of below the line, like, oh, I have to, like, I didn't feel like myself. Like, I have to do this. I have to. And it wasn't fun at all. And so when I was introduced to Optavia, and Amber's actually my coach, and she really helped me hone in like what my vision was, because my brain was kind of like Pinterest. I love to find like what I wanted to create. And I had this big picture, and I had like all of these tools, but I didn't know how to put them into practice. And I think of it like a contractor. If you guys have ever built a house or worked with a contractor, it's like you probably spend a lot of time dreaming up your dream house, right? And maybe, you show up to the building site and you don't have any tools. Or maybe it's vice versa. You have like all these tools, you got your drill and you got your hammers and your lumber, but there's no plan. And so you just start like nailing boards together and it's not working. So that's what I loved about this challenge and Optavia in general. Like, it helps us to hone in that vision, and it gives us the right tools to make it happen. And so once I really incorporated the 4 components of Optavia, it started to become more fun. Especially after that first week, and the scale was dropping and I had more energy, and I started like being able to enjoy that one meal, that lean and green meal with my family. And I started seeing changes. It made such a huge difference, and it became fun. And before, a lot of us go into something thinking like, we'll just eat the food and make the changes with the nutrition, and that might work. But if you're not incorporating all of the components, all of the tools, it's so easy to kind of slip back. And so that's what was kind of nice about this 90-day challenge, is it wasn't a 2-week challenge. We had to stick with it. And that's how a health journey is. It doesn't end after we hit our goal weight. But with Optavia, I love that we have those components. We have our community, like these calls really helped, to get on the webinars and to see what other people were doing. I loved learning from the life book and working on the mindset, because that is huge. Because otherwise it's so easy to go back to those old habits when things get hard, right? If you're not working on the mindset. And it's so nice to have someone to be accountable to. And so thinking back on my journey, I knew myself. I knew that I would easily slip back to those old habits and put everyone else before me, and slip back to being addicted to sugar and slipping, like not doing my exercises. And that's really why I became a coach, is I wanted health to be part of who I was. I wanted it to be fun. And you guys, that's when it started to become really fun. And I even remember when I first started coaching, like I had a hard time sleeping sometimes because I was so excited about what was going on with all of my clients and them getting results and having success. And so when you want to be successful long-term, or when you want to change your identity and make it part of who you are long-term, that's the golden ticket. Help someone else do it too. And so that's, when we think about what professionals do, or if you want to get really good at something, your hobbies need to be in alignment with that, right? So Amber loves pickleball. So her hobbies are pickleball and exercising her arm and staying active and staying healthy so that she can continue doing that. And so that's a few things that I loved about becoming a coach, is it freed up time because I could make money by doing things that helped me too, to stay healthy and be able to stay at home with my kids. And it helped keep me in shape. And I love all of the learning we get to do. I love working on my mindset, and it's so fun to be able to serve other people. And I would say that's really when I was able to make the shift. And it doesn't come overnight, you guys. That element of play, it takes practice. It takes like letting go of things and not holding it so tightly of, I have to hit this goal. I have to be perfect. I have to do this exactly, to just being curious about what's next and how we can move forward. And so I've really enjoyed the challenge of really focusing on those few things to help me move to that next level.
I love that, Liz. It's genius, really. a lot of people become a coach with Optavia just as a hobby. You know, they have, maybe they have another full-time job, maybe they are raising 10 kids, I don't know. But when your hobby supports your goals, this is a good thing.
Amber, I started coaching as a hobby, and here I am 10 years later. I'm still here with this great hobby I love.
I love it.
It's become my purpose, and it's become who I am. And that's what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah. So
Amber,
what's
I realized like I didn't even say like I lost 45 pounds with Optavia 11 years ago, because that's not even what matters anymore. It's like, that's just something fun like that happened along the way. And that's really like where that shift happens, that it wasn't like a finish line.
I love that, Liz. Isn't that so true? It's like when you are focused on more of like the long-term, like creating the life that you want, it's like, I didn't say that I lost 35 pounds either. I was like, oh yeah, you know, and then I got healthy. It really does when it just becomes something along the road. Yeah, Kat, 40 pounds, right? I don't think any of us said. So what is next? So this challenge is ending. And here's the thing is, what I find is if you don't have a next thing where you're going, this is where people tend to go backwards and yo-yo. Okay. I wrote this in one of the emails coming up in the challenge, or it might've been today. I can't remember. They all run together for me. But here's the thing is, when you continually setting the next thing you're going towards, even if it's something small, even if you're like, you know what, for the next 90 days, I want to build up my back strength like Jen did, or I want to increase my flexibility. We've had a lot of people do that. Whatever it is, you guys, something that you can do, just the smallest thing daily, something that you could do every day. And yeah, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to actually do it every day, probably. Some of you will. But here's the thing. Dr. A says, if you miss a day, make sure you don't miss 2 days. Don't break that habit, Jane. So, okay. So any takeaways that you guys have, I would love for you to type in the chat something that you got out of tonight. And while we are waiting for those takeaways in the chat, I want you to think about who you can share this webinar with, who would really just love the things that we talked about, who would resonate with personal development, with improving your healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances. And I want to tell you guys about a fun drawing that we are doing with the challenge. And this is going to be coming out tomorrow morning. So I'm giving you a sneak peek. We're going to do a drawing for a $50 prize for everyone who posts on their social media. It must be public so that I can also see that you actually posted, and with the hashtag real self-care. Okay. And just post any way that you move forward in your life. Okay. It doesn't matter if you didn't lose 30 pounds or you didn't like pay off all your debt, like Nancy. Good job, Nancy, by the way. I probably need a disclaimer to say that, but any way that you move forward. Maybe you're eating more vegetables. Maybe you are more mindful from the meditations that you did do, even if you didn't do them every day. Maybe your stress is a little lower. Whatever it is, we want to celebrate you. So all you got to do is make a post on your social media with your win, with any way you move forward, hashtag real self-care, and then comment on the post that's coming out tomorrow morning in the group at 6 a.m. Okay. All right, you guys. Kat, anything else you want to wrap up with?
I just want to encourage everybody for the last couple of days of this challenge to have fun. Make it fun.
Let's play. I just love that. I love that picture of that dog. I think that was my biggest takeaway. It's just that dog like running through a field.
It's just joy, exuberant.
Live your best life, you guys. And I find that I'm living my best life, not just when I'm like on the beach and with the sunset and all that, but when I'm actually in integrity with my goals and I'm going, I want to do that. I want to make that fun. So thanks so much for being on. We love you guys. Have a fabulous week, and day 90 this Saturday, April Fool's Day. Who's a fool? Not you, because you're working on yourself. So I'll see you later, guys.